Hey, what's going on, guys? MC Fire here, tapping in with you guys with again another video, kind of documenting the fire journey. We kind of told you guys that we were going to be documenting the fire journey, while we, build the portfolio, build businesses, all that good jazz. So, at the end of the day, this is what we're doing, and we're kind of excited to kind of share this part with you guys too. The trading journey almost daily, and so on and so forth. Words of wisdom, nuggets, all the good jazz. You can get it all here on the channel. Today is Friday, and even though it's Friday, it's not going to be a sleeper day already. You guys have been watching the narrative of, the market being in a downtrend, right? No matter how you feel about the market, if it's a 50-year bull trend, fine. But, as of right now, the market's in a downtrend. We'll mark that out for you. You got a weekly AEP moving average cross, right? Down below the 21. So however you want to define it, that's how we define it. Just have rules, make rules, stick to those rules. If you find those rules work consistently and have some edge, then run with those rules. So the reality is, if the market is in a downtrend, we're making plays consistently to the downtrend or respecting that trend. We did make a play, reversion to the mean. If you guys have watched some of our previous videos here recently, we did even take a play that's counter trend, or known as reversion to the mean. 21 period moving average being traditional mean, but the first sign of danger, which is what we like to pull our plays off of, was the 8 period moving average. So I'm going to bring that to the front of the classroom right now, and then I'm going to show the kind of the follow through of why it's so important. We kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to add a little bit more to that, right? If you see here that even from a traditional standpoint, the market, from a traditional standpoint, went from this support to this resistance, roughly, right? And it kind of wicked below that down almost to this resistance, okay? Which kind of gave us our confirmation that, hey, they're stepping in, and it has the potential at least to get back to the mean with a high probability that we can leave the trade on and make some profit there, okay? The reason why that reversion to the mean is high reward but slightly higher risk is because you are obviously betting against the trend. You're betting against the flow of the water, the flow of momentum, okay? But there's a certain elasticity, a certain ebb and flow where things expand and contract. And just like the expansion is there, the contraction is also there. The markets at some point will say, man, this is really cheap. I at least got to get in. It could be some, long-term buyers stepping in. Could be some speculators. Really doesn't matter. It could be a catalyst news. What you'll notice is it has a lot of room to grow to the downside. To the downside being 3 ATR, which statistically highly probable that it will bounce from 3 ATR. Markets don't like to be moving 3 times their average range. Sorry, guys, we're slightly under the weather, but we're kind of pushing through it. The weather doesn't want to know what it wants to do in the Pacific Northwest, so it's very interesting. But the crazy part is the reason why we can pull the trigger not necessarily at this support line or at 3 ATR is the outsized candle. The outsized candle is giving you a heads up, not just as support and resistance. Things happen in real time. Things happening now are not going to be necessarily like they were. Just because you have a line on your chart that is an invisible line, yes, people will see that line and respect that line if people today do the same thing that people did in the past. You're anticipating that people today will do the same thing that they do in the past. What happens when they don't? How do you know? How do you know it's different? That's what we're here to talk about. It doesn't get all the way to the bottom of this line. It doesn't get all the way to the bottom of that line. So what happens is, as it comes down, we understand it might not get all the way to the bottom of that line. Why? Because buyers step back in and caught these sellers offsides. Buyers stepped in, and then buyers stepped in again at the same spot. Not necessarily at the line, not necessarily at the trend line. This is where the buyers want to step in. How do we know that? Because we saw sellers step in and buyers beat them. Sellers stepping in and buyers beat them. Double confirmation here. I think we talked about that as this is a potential for another entry if you're looking to go larger size. Some people say, oh, this trade is going to be a good trade, so I want to put on more size. How do you know? You don't know. But this right here is double confirmation. So this is a justification with data and actual data that says, hey, the market went down here and confirmed these guys are off size once. Then it did it again. So if I wanted to add more size, logically it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense to add more size here, not because of my gut, right? If you're looking at the chart, you're not watching your gut. Nothing good comes from your gut, right? If you're watching this chart and you're saying, oh, this gives me double confirmation that these sellers and potentially 2/3 of these sellers are offside. Okay. Now you get the eventual reversion to the mean. That's edge. But we didn't have to wait till it got all the way down here. We just took the break. Kind of similar things kind of happening with AEP over here. Even bucking the trend a little bit, which is kind of cool. So what I mean by the bucking the trend, the last couple of days, SPY has been down. This hasn't really just necessarily sold off with the rest of the market. So that was one heads up for us. Number two, it's in an uptrend. That's good. Number three, if you take this level with the squeeze, with the outsized candle, all these confluences, people call them confluences, whatever you want to call them, all these positive things are stacking up in your favor if you're looking to be bullish. Darker than normal red candle. That means in this candle, right, you got to include the gap there. A lot of people got short. So from this gap here down, a lot of people got short. These people are already off sides. But we took the trade based off the open. We can go bring that to the front of the classroom. There's also potential a gap up on the board, potentially already on this morning. So when you look at it, a lot of people stepped in overnight, right? The sell-off happened here, major sell-off on the day, and then it continued. Massive fight, but it ended up net negative. So I'm to surmise that if you include the gap and this net negative, the sellers won the day. That's data, right? The price was lower than what it was previously. So now, as we above the open can now have a decent risk to reward based off of the cash, at least at minimum, the cash session. And the overnight session is partly offsides if you got in, relatively below where the cash session high was, right? Then you're offside. That's a lot of people. And so as a cash session potentially and the overnight session, the lower third, unwind their positions, right? You're getting that move upwards because nobody wants to lose money. So the earlier you cut your losses, scratch, get out, whatever, the less pain you'll feel if this thing rips against you, of which it is in an uptrend. With a squeeze, mind you. And now we're currently above this resistance level, which now comes what? New support. Major resistance level, double tap up here, off high, relative highs before a major sell-off. So now that it rips, breaks that, does some chop action, but it's above that again. That's very, very powerful. And the squeeze, what some people classify as a squeeze, hasn't even fired yet, which means that the on the daily, the Bollinger Bands have not even expanded away from the Keltner channel. They're still inside the average true range. So if we're going to expand, we're hoping, right? Could go down, but we're hoping that it expands upwards. would be looking to roll if it because it's already above 106.08. If it actually holds above that in the morning, we're probably gonna roll this, take some profit off the table, just in case, because this is like the first sign of danger. First sign of danger is right here at this ledge. So if we get in there and likes to trade there, we'll go ahead and take some profits. Good 3-day trade, right? Take some profits there. We completely took off the Q trade and the what is it? The IONQ is our starting to trend back down in our favor. Right, starting to trend back down in our favor. This wasn't the best trade. It was a neutral zone when we took the buy. It was based off this, but this is one of the few occasions where you can say, "Oh, I might want to pass on a trade because look how wide this candle is." And yes, these guys are off sides, but I mean we're in a trading range. So ideally, your risk to reward needs to be a little bit more like AEP, right? Where the candle's a little tighter. Candle's a little tighter right there off resistance. So I want to bring to the front of the classroom SLB, new one we haven't talked about, to bring that point kind of home. And I'll bring Boeing to the front of the classroom to also to illustrate that point. Right now, what you're noticing in SLB right now is, I'll bring it to the front of the classroom. On the left side, look on the weekly chart, right? Kind of an uptrend, 21 period moving average, 8 period moving average starting to figure out their life. Cool. So we're in an uptrend by definition, when you're in doubt, 21 out, so to speak. But you get this nice red candle here, right? If the trend changes, now there's also something in play, and I'm going to actually expand this to bring it to the front of the classroom. You have divergence in the board on SLB. Doesn't necessarily have to play out positively, but you do have divergence. This low higher than that low. This low correspond, right? But this low on the price action is higher than this low on the price action over here. Meanwhile, on the unbalanced volume, this low is lower. So definitely, I might even be able to mark it. I don't know. Maybe you can put a line there. Cool. So there's that. And line, please. Thank you. There's that. Bringing that to the front of the classroom. So to the point, that's diversion. And if we can get a divergence to fire to the upside, you have a very, very good play right there. Very, very good play. Why do I say it's a good play? Sorry, I'm jumping over to the daily. It's a good play because now we're on the daily of the same chart. Right before you were on the weekly, now you're on the daily uptrend. Right there's a new trend line we just wrote in. We'll get rid of this. I don't know why we have this there. Okay. So now we're in an uptrend, defined uptrend. Daily squeeze looks like it wants to fire, or it's already started. You got this resistance level that if it breaks above that, that's double confirmation. It already broke above it. It's testing it technically. And if it breaks above it again, these sellers are now offsides in uptrend with divergence and squeeze. SLB. Okay, SLB. Let's see what's that price? 42.85. It's already started, I think, pushing pre-market potentially. I'm looking at the bid and ask here, 42 to 42.4. So you're still fighting, but if you can get above that level, I see that as a potentially amazing trade, potentially, from everything I'm seeing, right? But the risk to reward there is what? Right here, boom. This little bar, and then your potential reward can be all the way up here to 46, potentially. Right? We like to sell a little early, take some profits early. That's just how I am. I see it is there. Let me just grab it within reason, right? Another one we want to bring to the front of the classroom is good old Boeing. Same thing, similar situation. We're bringing the weekly up first because we like to get a top-down approach. Get an uptrend, new uptrend relative. after bad news, a lot of bad news for Boeing. We had to be patient, essentially a year before we're like, hey, let's start buying some of this stuff, man. Would have been nice to get some at 3ATR. Didn't really ping down there, so didn't get really heads up. I just pulled the trigger. Yeah, support. I'm willing to accept the risk. I want to be in this for the next 10, 15 years. Fine. Right? That's how you think. Trend change. I'll take the buy again. Right? But more importantly, look at this. For the lesson, we want to bring to the front of the classroom this wick, right? So, three weeks of selling makes sense, and then down here is where we're really kind of focusing on at this 145.47 level, 145 and 47 cents level. That level is interesting. Why? Because it likes to get down there, right? Gets down there. You're in an uptrend now. But more importantly, when we correspond that to the daily, this is that same level. So now it's down here. Look at your tight risk to reward. Look at that. This outsized candle set in, no break of high. This outsized candle set in, no break of high. This outsized candle set in, there's a break of high. Rip. Off a key level. In no catalyst in the zone. This is just people getting off sides. You're not going to have news or catalysts. If anything, news and catalysts make people think they know what's going to happen. Right? You don't know what's going to happen. You see earnings go up, but people want to sell. It's wild to me. But, hey, a more profitable company. If you think, it should have been way more profitable than that. Okay. I already think it's hard enough starting a business and becoming profitable, let alone increasing your profits consistently. You're doing something right. Right? Bringing Google to the front of the classroom kind of illustrates some other things too, right? Understand, right? When you look at this, and this is why I want to bring it up. This is, right, if you're looking at it, you're like, man, there's a green arrow here. We're in a downtrend. It's selling off. Duh. Right? Why won't you just wait? You could just wait. But I like to have things on my radar, right? If you take a couple buys here and you're like, oh, okay, and it's on your radar. Shout out to Peter Lynch. If you like the company, just buy a few. And then, in the words of one YouTuber that I like, I'll back the Brinks truck up later. Maybe it gets down to 3 ATR, the support level, and outsized candle, and we take the real big buy. Okay, so not everything is, sometimes you just be like, I'm willing to accept the risk on this. Put my money on the board as a business. I want a part of this good company, and I don't want to miss it by having it go to the back of my mind. Oh, it's use the tools. If I buy the thing, I'm invested now, emotionally. Use your emotions. So everyone says emotions are bad in this game, right? Your emotions get the better of you. Use your emotions to help you out. I want to come back and watch this stock, so I'm gonna buy some so I can look at it, at least periodically. What's that stock doing? Okay, Google. What stock? What is Google? What that buy that I bought in an awkward position? Let me see what it's doing. I don't encourage this for everything. I encourage this for a company like Google or Amazon. Okay. You're building your portfolios out. Same deal. A couple of green arrows there. Clearly it's in a downtrend. Right? This is where you get to say, oh, I want to average in. I'm looking 3-5 years down the road. I pray sometimes that we get 3 years of a pullback. And I get to average in at these lows. Man, I'm telling you, especially if you understand what's going on. If you understand that you have an inflationary environment. You understand that you have an inflationary environment, then I would you would love to see prices retract. In most asset classes, you would love to see it. You would love to see it. People are looking to protect their purchasing power that's reflected in gold and partly silver, and even some speculative instruments like Bitcoin. Silver breaking highs. Will it come back down? Potentially. Anything is possible. But I know that we're in an inflationary environment, and there's going to be a lot more upwards pressure on stuff like this. Trump's trying to solve the money problem with reevaluating gold. And think about it. Just think for 1 second. If someone is trying to take the price that we have on the books from $42 to its market value, what's the purpose of that? What could you do with that much money in your piggy bank? You're going to do one of three things. Okay? You're going to do one of three things. You're going to pay down the national debt. You're going to pay down the national debt. That's one thing you could do. Right? The next thing you could do is fund your projects. Spend the money. Sell it. Spend the money. Like, hey, we're sitting on all these assets. We need to fund these projects. Get them done. Right? But why are you playing with it? You're playing with it because you're going to use it. So that just sheds more light on the fact that he's trying to fix a problem with these assets that have been sitting on the sideline. It's a tier 1 asset. But if you are trying to fix a problem and that's the asset, do you think you can control the price of the asset before you sell it? You might have the ability to do that because it's power. So what happens if you can fix the problem? Let me go back. If you can fix some of the problem at $3,000 per ounce, you can fix more of the problem at $10,000 per ounce, $5,000 per ounce. You can fix a problem even better. If this is going to be your vehicle to fix whatever problem you're trying to fix, that's because you already showed your hand by saying, hey, I want to account for the gold. I want to reevaluate it. You've already showed what you want to do. We're sitting on assets that are unaccounted for. Let's account for these assets and do something with them. So you're already moving in your accounting book the value up to current. But what happens if you have the ability to manipulate it? And if you don't think that happens, it can happen because the silver market, believe it or not, gets cornered. It can get cornered. Somebody can buy up most of the silver, right? And it shoots to the moon. It's happened before. And the government stepped in and said, no, you can't corner a market like that. You can't have a monopoly on the market. We'll come, we'll take your silver. Okay? So, right now, this is a smart play. Now, granted, right? I like pullbacks. Okay? Nice pullback about 4 weeks ago to about the 8 pair moving average, right? Other than that, you have to look back almost to December for a pullback where it goes neutral, right? Where it goes neutral. It's insane. It's insane how much this thing has moved. Okay? And it might not be done. Because if the current administration wants to use this as a way to solve its problems, maybe you, Jimmy, rig the system to have it solve all your problems. That's how I would think somebody that understands the market would maneuver the market. I mean, use this asset, value the asset where I want to value it to solve my problem. That's what I think, right? It's a theory. Okay, might not even come to fruition. So if we go back, just to recap, SLB, divergence there. Looking at divergence, you're also looking at a very straightforward setup. Outside candle, breaking that line. Potentially want to see it at least hit rotation. Nice entry to test rotation, or even go to 3 ATR. what we're in currently, the AEP, has the potential to today get up to the level we want. It's trading range. It's already pulling back a little bit, so we'll see. But it being above the resistance bodes well for us. Bodes well for us. We're trying to avoid like a head and shoulders kind of deal. That would be bad, you know. That could still be in play, right? Come up, there's a shoulder, head, shoulder, and then you're fighting to break out, but you don't really ever break out to the upside on the squeeze. You break down and just kind of melt away. That could happen too, right? It's a good hypothesis there. Get a head and shoulders pattern from here. We sell off. We go back to 93s. Could happen. For the Qs, we can go over some in plays. The crazy part is the one I kind of gave you was like, I think, yeah, it was already on there. Let's do this. APP and Rivian. I mean, look at that, gorgeous stuff right there. In line with already the reversion to the mean, starting to sell off. You know how I like mine's a little different. Green step in and get washed. But this is pretty violent right there. Is there going to be a follow through? I don't know. You got resistance right here at this level. So APP, depends. Really does depend. Really, really does depend. But I think, when you have a company that got up in the 500s and is now in 261, you got to watch that. I mean, it's fell essentially from 300 to 261. So be mindful of stuff like that. And again, note, earnings up. I'm floored. I'm floored. If you liked this price at when earnings were this, why get back down to that price when earnings are higher? You'd think that, it'd be up here in no man's land trading, right? Well, what do I know? Rivian, right? Rivian, same thing. Increasing on earnings. Still negative, but increasing. Winning down 21 out. So 21 is a little neutral, kind of slight. Like, let me zoom in here. So I'm not a liar. Yeah, it's going up. The 8's it's negative though. The 8 period moving average is below it. I've got to call a spade, right? Got to call a spade. But yeah, that is negative. And so when we go on the daily here, right? You're in negative territory. I have to take what I see. Buyers stepping in negative territory, even though the 21 period moving average is up. The only problem is, right, when you have like the mixed signals there, like the 21's out, but the trend's down, but you're in a rally and you get an outside candle up, there's a squeeze that's fired to the upside. Sometimes it's good to just let it go. It was one of these ones like, it's too much confusion. It could go down. Right? Too much confusion. So in that case, there you guys go. This is MC Fire tapping in with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I kind of enjoyed making it and giving you guys my thoughts. You guys have a good day and goodbye. Peace.